Hello everyone and welcome back to Georgia Paper Crafts. Today I'm working on foiling using stencils. And I do this using the Deco Foil Transfer Gel. Now this Deco Foil Transfer Gel is the original kind that came out a couple years ago. They have upgraded this foil gel since my version. And I think this version is still available. However, this transfer gel is once you place it and it dries, you have to use heat to get the foil to stick onto it. The new one that they have, and I believe it's called Transfer Gel Duo, and I've seen some videos online of people using it where you only have to use pressure. You can run it through your like die cutting machine to put the pressure on it to get the foil to stick. So this one's the oldie but goodie, and as you can see, I have never used it, so this is my first time using it, and I decided if I'm going to have all this out, I want to go ahead and make a bunch of different projects. So what you see is I've taken a bunch of different colors of cardstock, and I've cut it down. All of them are about, I think they're 5.5 by 5.5, and I am using 3 different stencils from Simon Says Stamp. I'm using the reversed heart stencil, the mosaic heart stencil, and the falling heart stencil. And I'm doing 3 or 4 of each of these, and I'm just lightly applying some of this transfer gel to each. Here's a mosaic heart stencil, and just putting it on lightly and then putting it aside to dry. Now, I think that if I would have had maybe that scraper, stencil scraper, or whatever it's called, it's something I want to get. It's on my bucket list. I think it would be very helpful because I did have areas that were somewhat raised and somewhat not as covered. I thought I covered it all, but I guess there were some areas that weren't as covered or too covered, and it definitely changed how the foil stuck to it. So, and I'll show you all that here coming up. But as I said, because I wanted to make a bunch of different cards, I actually did, I think, 15 pieces. No, it wasn't 15 pieces. I actually did, was it 10 different? But then I was able, I'm going to also show you how I make cards using the used foil that you use to put on here. I'll explain it here shortly. So as I'm moving on, you can see now I've moved on to the falling heart stencil, just putting the gel down. Again, this is white when it goes on, and once it dries, it will be clear. Now I am using, underneath my craft mat here, I am using the Wendy Becky Make Art Station, where you can just, it's magnetic, and so I can use my large magnetic holders there just to keep the stencil in place so I don't have to worry about taping it, and that's very convenient. But I put the craft mat on top because it doesn't, the station doesn't clean up, doesn't have a surface that can clean up easily. So that's why you got to put your craft mat down when you're doing this. So as we move on, and I do all of this, sorry it's taking a while, like I say, just using different colors of cardstock, and here you can see it is finally dried. I'm just showing you that it's nice and clear, and that's how I know that it's dry. I would say that the majority of these, the smaller ones, took about an hour, the other ones a little bit longer. From here, I'm just going to cut a bunch of different pieces of foil from my stash and put it in my transfer sheet covered by a regular piece of thin white paper and run it through my make machine.
All right, I'm going to do a quick run through of all of the pieces that I foiled just to give you a quick look. So what I want to show you is that this is the first one I did. I went ahead and took the foiling off once it was finished just to make sure it looked okay. I ran this through my ink machine on setting 4, and I think it turned out beautifully. Isn't that beautiful? All right, so let's move on. Let's see how this one looks. One of the hearts. I think it did pretty good. A little bit of, you can tell I got a little errant paste there, or gel, but in general, pretty good. Still, it didn't transfer very well right there, but I mean, I'm still gonna use it for sure. Let's take a look at this one. So this is the red, and I put silver. Oh, that's pretty. Silver hearts, falling hearts. Now all of these sheets, obviously, I'm going to cut down and make into cards, but I purposely made them bigger so that I did have room to cut down. And here's one of the mosaic hearts. Oh, that's pretty. Wow, that one did real well. And then we've got purple hearts. That's pretty, with the exception of right there. I don't know if that's a fingerprint or what that is, but it got a little outside there. I'll cut that down maybe. It's very pretty though, that's for sure. All right, some more falling hearts. Let's see, this is on navy cardstock. Oh, that's pretty. Very nice. Here's another mosaic one on black. This is copper color. There's still a couple areas here you can kind of see that didn't foil great, and a little, of course, errant thing there, but still I'm pretty happy with it. I think it looks pretty good. Now some of this could not foil well, possibly because I didn't smooth it out. I maybe had some dust or anything on the foil. It's definitely probably an error in my part on some way, whether it's putting it, you know, when I put it into the ink machine or what. Sometimes, like I say, I have a drawer full of foil that I'm not always real careful with, so it definitely can get kind of scratched up. You can see pieces get scratched up, and of course there's some dust possibly, and I definitely have pets, so there's always an errant dog or cat hair. So, ooh, that one's pretty. That's a pretty blue. I like that. All right, here's magenta heart. So you can see here there's some big areas, and here again I smushed it outside. I must have smushed it outside of the thing, but still very nice. And here is using some of that foil that we got in the Simon Says stamp kit a couple months back. Very pretty. And then here, this is some Gina K Designs Deco foil, sparkling red foil. And of course, that looks beautiful on the white. So I think they all turned out wonderful. A couple areas on here that, you know, I'll probably wind up having to cut out to when I make them into cards. But what I also wanted to show you is that I took the, I guess this would be the negative of this. So this is the piece that I took off of this sheet. So I foiled this with this sheet. Now I took a toner sheet from Deco Foil and I ran that through the ink machine with that, and look how that is. That's pretty stunning. Wow. That'll make a very pretty card too. So I'm going to run a couple more through, I think, real quick, and then I'll get to making some cards. Okay, I did a few more of these positive sheets on the toner sheet. And let's see. Another heart one with the rainbow. This is the blue mosaic one. That's pretty neat. Messed up that corner though. And here's the falling hearts with the teal green and silver. Very nice. Excellent. It's a lot to make cards with. All right, we'll go ahead and get busy and make some cards.
So the first card I made, I decided to cut it down and to use this love die from MFT. Now I cannot find this in their shop anywhere. This might be retired. It probably is. I have a lot of things in my stash. It seems like stores seem to retire things before I can use them. So anyway, this is, I will see if I can find somewhere to link to, but I cut it out of the foiled piece, and I also cut it out of some craft foam here just to give it a little dimension, and I'm gluing them together. Just going to glue all the letters together. And once I'm finished with that, I'm going to go ahead and adhere the main piece onto a piece of red cardstock. This is that School Files red cardstock from Simon Says Stamp. And up to the right hand corner right there, yep, you see that is a heart die, and I put it down there from Simon Says Stamp. It's the Sketched Heart die. This came out quite a while ago, and it cuts out the outer portion of the Sketched Heart look and then also that inner portion. And what I decided is I kind of wanted the heart to look like it was going through the love letters. So you'll see I fiddle with it to get it to kind of go through without really obstructing the letters as I put them down. And I do have to do a little bit of card surgery here to get that to happen, but it works out well and I think it looks pretty good. Just cutting a couple of them off. And once I finish with that, I'll go ahead and adhere, glue down the words, or excuse me, the letters to finish the sentiment there. And I also took a sentiment from, gosh, I can't even remember which stamp set, but one of the stamp sets, I believe it is an older Simon Says stamp set, and this said, "I adore you," and I just stamped that out and cut it into a small strip, and I'm going to put that right in the middle of that sketch heart. See that there? Go ahead and adhere that using some glue, and that's going to be that. This is one of my favorite ones. Here's a quick look at that. Alright, now moving on. A lot of these cards I use the same dies. I try to stick with the same dies, and I also tried to stick with the same sentiment strips. So I did the Simon Says Stamp Love You More sentiment strips. I used the Love You die with the shadow and then the main word. You'll see that a lot. And then, as you remember, these Love You More sentiment strips, they are white sentiments on toner sheets. So as you can see here, I cut the sentiment down and I foiled it. So it's a foiled sentiment that says "you plus me equals bow chicka wow wow." So it says "love you," and then it has that sentiment, which I think is absolutely adorable. Here I've used the Simon Says Stamp Love and Words word mix. Yeah, word mix 2, the one where you can cut them all out at once, and same here. And I'm just cutting down these foiled pieces to fit onto the cardstock. Here I'm using some peel-off stickers from Love from Lizzie. Just some silver ones to add a little bit of accent. Then I'm going to take that large red sentiment, which again is from the Love and Valentines Word Mix 2 set. That's how you say it. Sorry, that's a mouthful. And that's this small sentiment also. It says, love you, your numero uno. Moving on to the next card. Again, all cutting these down to just slightly smaller than the 4.5 by 5 1/4, or 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. Gluing them down using the sentiment strips. Here it says, you're in my heart. You're in my heart, love ya. This one again uses the love you die. And the sentiment strip that I did foiled it with some copper foiling. It says love you, kisses on the way, on their way. This one, again, I cut out a sentiment. This is again from one of the older stamp sets. And let's see, I think it is from the Love Always stamp set. This came out last year. And the sentiment that I stamped was Love You Always. Here again, I've cut down the foiled paper to be about 3 inches by 5 1/2. And I used some Love from Love from Lizzie peel off stickers for the side. Sorry about that. Goodness. Just trimming it up. I'm trying to get everything even there. I used another sentiment strip, and this one says, let's never be apart. Now this one also was foiled. Hard to tell there. Now this pink with magenta foiled hearts here, I didn't think I had real good foiling done, so I went ahead and cut a bunch of parts out using the MFT pierced heart stack die. And then I'm also using this die here that's the Love and Adore You die set from MFT. Again, I've looked, and this one for some reason is no longer available either. But I cut it out of white cardstock 3 times. I'm layering it, and then I'm putting a black die cut on top of it, just to give it a more dimensional look. So it's going to say Love You. You can see here I'm just kind of randomly putting the hearts around. And just trying to make it look, the background look full without looking too overcrowded. I will cut off some of the edges. And I'll use some of these extra pieces that I cut off to kind of fill in. Just to make, kind of fill in those white spaces. First, I'm going to go ahead and take a look at how I want my sentiment to lay. I'm going to go ahead and adhere that using some glue. Somewhat gets lost when I look at it right now. It gets a little bit lost. And here's another one of the sentiment strips that I had foiled. Just kind of, again, trying to put every little piece on there that I can. So this one says, Love you, I hate to break it to you, but you are stuck with me. Try to get used to it. So this one, I'm cutting down 2 pieces of the metallic, it's almost pink cardstock. This is from Holtz. Just going to line these 2 edges with it, cut off the excess. Go ahead and adhere that to the cardstock. This one's going to be fairly simple. Just going to add a sentiment strip onto here. This is Hugs and Kisses, and again, this is a sentiment strip that's been foiled. Here's the purple one. So the purple one was cut down. I'm going to use that Sketched Heart die again from Simon Says Stamp. Here, I cut the foil piece down way too far, so I decided to just go ahead and cut off some of the pre-made card base that I had, and so it's a little bit slighter than a regular A2 size card. I'm using the outside piece of the Sketched Heart in vellum, and then I'm using a piece of purple glitter cardstock for the inner portion of the heart. And then I'm going to use this sentiment strip that says "Love You, Babe," and this has also been foiled in purple. Here's the red one with the silver hearts. This is a stamp set, or stamp from the, again, Simon Says Stamp, Love You Always stamp set. I colored that with Copic markers and backed it with a black stitched pierced heart from MFT, and then I used that Love You die word from the Love and Valentine mix set. Now here is one of the toner pieces that I used, and it comes with a peel off back, so all I had to do was peel off that back. And as you can see, so when I used the reversed foil, so what it does is it leaves the black areas where, you know, the transfer foil had already been used. So I went back and refoiled it again, filling in those hearts. So I used silver again to cover those hearts. So once I've done all that, I use the Love You die, and again used another sentiment strip, and it says, "Admitted life would be boring without me." And then I just used some silver hearts from my stash. Now here is another piece that I did doing the reverse foiling using the toner sheets. And I'm just cutting them out again randomly using the MFT Pierced Heart Stack die. And because it does already have the peel and stick on the back, I can go ahead and just peel it off and stick it down. And I filled in those black hearts that were left on that with some light green foil that I had, and I thought that turned out pretty well. I actually think that this might be my favorite card. This one in the first card, very close. Turned out really pretty. The Love You is using some gold glitter paper. And then the sentiment strip, black with white writing. I did decide to bring in some jewels here, so I'm just bringing in some yellow and blue jewels just to kind of help adorn it and cover up some of that white or off-white space there. Here's a look. This one says, "Love you more than coffee." That's saying a lot. Did the same one with this one. This is another piece of the reversed foil. Using the toner sheets, cut it down into the hearts, just putting it around. Same kind of design. Again, this one, initially when I did the reverse foiling, it came through with black hearts of the areas that had already been done, and I went through and I think I used silver to fill that in. Off to the side, you can see that I did die cut the Love You die, and I used blue glitter cardstock for that. The sentiment strip says, "I think I'll keep you." This is the regular black toner sheet, and it is not foiled. Had a little bit of a white space or a little bit of extra open space there. So I decided I'd try to put the sentiment over that. Up to the left. I had a little bit of difficulty cutting the sentiment strips out. When I say I did, it's because I can't seem to ever cut straight. So a lot of them are a little bit off, and I apologize for that, but that is a talent that I need to work on, because I don't seem to cut anything straight, even using a paper cutter. Go figure, right? Anyway, adding a few jewels here. Again, these are the Pretty Pink Posh Unicorn rhinestones. Now here is a piece that I had a bunch of extra pieces left over, and I just made a collage so you can see a bunch of different pieces put together. I used a vellum heart, kind of putting it off to the side. I'm going to adhere the sentiment "Love You," again with blue glitter cardstock. And I adhere it onto the cardstock by putting adhesive on the back of the sentiment strip. And below it, the sentiment strip says "Forever." I'm going to trim off the excess here. Add a couple more. I'm going to add some of these enamel hearts. Now, I put some glue down to get the heart stick, and then I put the enamel heart over it. And that's that. So here's a quick look at all the cards I made. I made a total of 15 cards. I liked how it turned out, and actually the process itself isn't that hard. It was easy to, you know, do it all at once and do it kind of in an assembly line. Do all the pasting and then the foiling and then put everything together. And like I say, now I have 15 cards. I think it turned out great. I hope you got some inspiration from this, and I hope you would give it a try, because I think it actually turned out really well. Get some of that transfer gel, use it with your foils, and then see what you can make. Thanks again for sticking around and watching my video. If you haven't already subscribed to my channel and like to see more from Georgia Paper Crafts, I encourage you to go ahead and hit the subscribe button. And leave me a comment down below and let me know which card was your favorite. Until next time, see you later.